Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Professor Nenden, the Honorable Dr. Fajri, and all of my friends. My name is Raden Hasby Isnaindy Fasa, and today I'm going to present a paper review entitled Teacher-Driven Curriculum Development at the Classroom Level, Implication for Curriculum Pedagogy and Teacher Training. My presentation is divided into 4 parts. The first is introduction, second is general and critical comment, the third is conclusion, and the last is reference. So without further ado, let's get jump to the first part. As I said before, that the title of this paper is Teacher-Driven Curriculum Development at the Classroom Level, Implication for Curriculum Pedagogy and Teacher Training. The paper is written by one of professor at Al-Azhar University College of Education named Saad Shawir. He graduated from the universities of Cambridge, Manchester, and Cardiff, United Kingdom. This paper was published in 2017 in Teaching and Teacher Education journal. His interests involve curriculum development, teacher professional development, creative pedagogy and assessment, cognitive styles, and learning strategies. In general, this paper's intention is to find out the motives that drive English language teacher in the field of EFL or ESL to either make or produce, develop, or even just deliver the content of curriculum. We know that the current shift in curriculum research turned to how the teacher deliver the curriculum, or also known as teacher curriculum approaches, for their significant impact on teacher, student learning outcome, or we call it as SLOs, and the curriculum itself. The researcher of this paper seen these differences impact of teacher curriculum approaches on teacher, learners, and curriculum as their burning issues of the paper. Therefore, the aim of the study is to examine why some teachers opt for curriculum development while others do not. The grand theory that is used by the researcher is when teachers implement curriculum, they usually follow a curriculum fidelity, curriculum adaptation, or a curriculum enactment approach. The research design that is used in this paper is qualitative case studies. The instrument that it used is qualitative interviews and participant observations, and the data analysis technique is the constant comparative method. The findings of this paper is the first. The findings show expediency of coursebook use reduce the scale of classroom level curriculum development but promotes curriculum transmission. The second, the finding also point to coursebook quality as a factor behind classroom level curriculum development rather than curriculum transmission. The third is the finding indicate quality pre or in-service training is vital to classroom level curriculum development. And the last finding is indicate that teacher contents belief influence teacher curriculum development. From what I see, the researchers tried to discover that the problem rests was with the teacher curriculum approach. That is why a study was urgently needed in order to reveal why some teachers develop curriculum at the classroom level, while counterpart just transmit curriculum content regardless of learners' needs and styles. Therefore, a brand new study may have important implications for learning, teaching, and curriculum improvement. The fact that some teachers may seem to have required qualification and training, in some cases they still fail to achieve effective teaching in practice field. From issues such as curriculum and teacher development, the research intention is to improve SLOs and motivation by identifying some possible factors which encourage and hinder the teacher curriculum development so that pre-service and in-service teacher training programs in the field may address them in their courses once it identified. Now we come to the second part, which is the general and critical comment. The first aspect that will be commented is the abstract. Okay, regardless of how important the role of the title in this paper, another thing that should be considered is the role of abstract. It is in line with the American Psychological Association or APA in 2010 that indicate that the abstract could be the most important single paragraph in study, since not all readers have time to read the whole paper in detail. Reading the paper is the best way to know what the paper is all about and what is the researcher trying to deliver to the readers. Um, Reading this abstract was time worth wasting. The abstract was not too wordy, yet it was quite understandable because it consists of some important information of the paper that made me as a reader directly knew what the paper is all about. This is in line with Creswell in 2014, who stated that abstract needs to be accurate, non-evaluative, coherent, readable, and concise. Moreover, its length was fit the requirement for an appropriate length. The abstract of this paper consists of 215 words, which means in line with the guideline of the APA, who say that the most abstract are from 150 to 250 words. In terms of content of the paper, it was also more interesting to be discussed. The researcher started his abstract by describing the burning issue from his study, which was about curriculum and teacher development. According to Creswell 2014, an abstract should start with the issue or problem leading to a need for research. That is why the researcher was not only start his abstract by describing and proposing the issue or problem, but also the urgency of why the study should have been conducted. He stated individual teacher interpretation of the same formal curriculum drive teacher to transform a single curriculum into multiple thought curricula through teacher and student experiences in different contexts. And then the researchers came up with the statement which described the purpose of the study. It is important because by stating the obviously using term examine, he was indicating the purpose of the study by explaining the central phenomenon being explored. The problem is that he didn't state the participants and the site where the research met conducted. Besides stating the central phenomenon being explored, it would be better to state the participant who will be studied, and the site where the research takes place is also should be stated. It is in line with Creswell in 2014. But apart from that, the researcher did a really good job by stating what type of data was collected to address to his purpose of the study, even though he didn't state it fully with the participant and where the data was collected. In his final statement of his abstract, the researcher state the implication or the effect of his study. Even he stated the specific field that will get advantages from his study, such as curriculum and instruction, teacher education, and future research. It is in line with Creswell in 2014 that state the researcher should finish the abstract by mentioning the practical implication of the study and also stating the specific audience who will be benefit from the project and why they will benefit. In terms of research methodology, the researchers state that the qualitative paradigm underlines this study at the ontological, epistemological, and methodological levels in order to reveal teacher and student multiple realities about their own curriculum experiences. This research design made use of the qualitative paradigm through strategy qualitative case studies, instrument qualitative interviews and participant participation, and the data analysis technique, the constant comparative method in order to understand each individual construction of the curriculum that was taught. He used qualitative case study in order to know and to keep the holistic nature of the research phenomenon in its natural context through exploring more into the teacher and student understanding in their own setting called natural observation. According to Creswell 2009, qualitative study tries to develop a complex picture of the problem or issue under study, which reporting multiple perspectives, identifying the many factors involved in a situation, and generally sketching the larger picture that emerge, meaning visual model of many phases of a process or a central phenomenon aid in establishing this holistic picture. Therefore, he studied some typical cases in order to understand and to uh, see the insight into similar cases of teachers. The researchers used semi-structured interviews to probe for more deep answer from teachers, then following up the response and clarify meaning as suggested by Blakey in 2000. Interviews were used on a one-to-one and group basis, which the participant to provide historical information. But from what I see, according to Creswell in 2009, this kind of interview basis has its limits, such as not all people are equally articulate and perceptive, which can provide indirect information on filter, and even researcher present made biased responses. General interviews were used to identify whether the teachers match the sampling criteria as well as to have initial understanding about the motive behind their curriculum approach. It is interesting to be highlighted that he made post-observation interviews in order to allow teachers justifying why they made change in order to official curriculum materials in every lesson in the classroom. Lastly, I would like to appreciate the researchers on how he handled data trustworthiness or validity and dependability or reliability in various ways. For instance, audio recorded data was first transcribed verbatim and transcriber reliability checked according to Kvel in 1996. This is in line with E in 2003, who suggests that qualitative researchers need to document the procedures of their cases and case studies and to document as many of the steps of the procedures as possible. And then interviews were validated through content validity, just like what Creswell in 2014 suggested. Moreover, narrative records of observation were made. Then he checked dependability and trustworthiness of observation data through methodological triangulation, where observation and interview gathered the same information. The reason why I'm concerned about this is because validity is one of the strengths of qualitative research, which based on determining whether the findings are accurate from the standpoint of the researcher, the participant, or the readers of an account, and terms abound in the qualitative literature that speak to this idea or trustworthiness, authenticity, and credibility. This is from Creswell and Miller in 2000. In findings and a discussion, the researchers examined 7 teacher-related factors behind classroom-level curriculum development and curriculum transmitters such as coursebook expediency, coursebook quality, work pressure, curriculum policy, teacher training and experience, teaching style, teacher content belief, and observation data. The data from curriculum developer, curriculum transmitter, and curriculum makers were compared and contrasted against those seven factors. In general, the researcher has already done a good job by taking some information from instrument and relate it to each factor, which describe a lot of things and show some interesting finding to be discussed. For instance, the findings show expediency of coursebook use reduce the scale of classroom level curriculum development but promotes curriculum transmission. In fact, expediency in the form of coursebook availability and variability made curriculum transmitter entirely depend on the coursebook and teacher guide. However, I could not comment on each factor finding because it will be way too long since the researcher has done it appropriately in general. In reporting the findings, the researcher narrated the data in the form of text, so the qualitative could be displayed. This is in line with Miles and Haberman in 1994 and also in Creswell 2009, who addressed the importance of creating a data display and state the narrative text has been the most frequent form of display for qualitative data since it is naturalistic study. Therefore, the researchers presented it in descriptive narrative form rather than as a scientific report by numbers or quantitative form. According to Creswell 2009, the result of the study will be construction of the participants' experience and the meanings researchers attach to them. I could not agree more about this because for me, this way give readers opportunity experiencing the challenges the researcher encounter and even provide readers place to see researchers' perspective through this study. Another thing to be highlighted is the way the researcher conclude his study. He did not state one particular sub to be conclusion part. Instead of doing that, he combined his conclusion with his discussion so that after he discussed his finding, he directly concluded, regardless of how good the researchers could analyze each factor and concluded it briefly. At least general conclusion is required in order to see the general result of the study that readers could get. It is supported by one of the best academic and scientific proofreading editing services, www.proofreadingservice.com, that state separated conclusion is necessary in order to interpret the findings that have been discovered so that the conclusion will be clear, engaging, and persuasive. Sure, that there is no specific formula in terms of how to write perfect conclusion for readers, but according to this website, strong conclusion is explaining the importance of the research in specific and definitive way. Moreover, one of the indicators of best conclusion is that it can change the opinions and future action of the readers after reading. So that's all from me. You may ask the question through WhatsApp group and I will answer it directly. Thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.